In the early summer of 1985, when I was 19 years old, the weather was not too hot, and the mosquito net had not yet been installed on the bed. I was sleeping alone in the second room from the west in the front row of my old family house. My parents were sleeping in the first room from the west. The house had a total of 5 rooms with earthen walls. The middle had the main door, and the rooms on both sides had windows. The 2 rooms adjacent to the main door did not have windows. I slept in the room to the west of the main door, which had no windows on the south side and no partition wall separating it from the main hall where the main door was located. The bed I slept on was a makeshift wooden plank, not a real bed, placed against the earthen wall on the south side of the room. The wall and the area where the bed touched it were covered in newspapers to prevent dirt from falling onto the bed. To the north of the room where I slept was a stove, with the fire-facing side to the west and the pot-facing side to the east. There was a large water tank on the east side of the pot, and a small window near the stove. When I slept, my head faced east, next to a pillar covered in various hanging items, and the beam above the pillar was also filled with miscellaneous things. My feet faced west, about 1.5 meters away from my parents' room. It was from this 1.5 meter section of the earthen wall that the extraterrestrials entered, and it was also how we exited. When I was taken out by the extraterrestrials, we passed directly through the wall, not through the main door. The earthy smell of the wall left a deep impression on me as we passed through it. The door to my parents' room was also not far from this place. At that time, all the floors were dirt, not cement. That time, I hadn't been lying down for long, when in a half-asleep state, I felt like something was hovering above the roof of my house. The familiar feeling from my childhood, like they are coming, came back. Suddenly, I felt the room turn reddish, waking me up. I climbed out of bed and stood beside it. I saw a glowing liquid seeping from the wall, emitting a dim red light mixed with some bluish-purple hues. These lights were uneven and composed of many dazzling tiny points of light. As the liquid fully seeped into the room from the wall, it gradually took the shape of several human figures. These figures, made up of countless tiny, dazzling points of light, resembled swarms of small red insects flying together, rapidly and chaotically moving. The intense fear made me tremble uncontrollably, with my hands, feet, and throat becoming stiff and unresponsive to my brain's commands. The mysterious beings did not speak, but in my mind, I seemed to hear a clear male voice saying, "Come with us." At that moment, I was fully conscious and remembered everything clearly. It wasn't a dream. While I was in a daze, I suddenly felt an invisible force suddenly rush at me from the front, instantly taking control of me. Especially in my head, it felt like it was suddenly filled with liquid and fine sand, a strong, numbing sensation of being filled with something. It was as if my consciousness was forcibly controlled by this mysterious force, becoming hazy, and my thinking and judgment became sluggish. I was no longer clear-headed, my senses seemed dulled, and my body felt light and unsteady. I gradually stopped trembling, and the fear significantly lessened. I saw them pass through the wall. It seemed to me that the wall had become semi-transparent, and I followed them through. Once outside, I realized I was barefoot, only wearing a vest and shorts, looking quite disheveled. As I touched the wall, the earthy smell left a deep impression on me. The sensation of passing through the wall felt like each molecule of the wall passed evenly through my body, rather than the wall splitting open to let me through. Also, when passing through the wall, every part of my body felt like countless tiny grains of sand were gently rubbing inside, accompanied by a slight sense of refreshment. The speed of passing through the wall wasn't fast, about the same as walking normally. In the following decades, I often dreamed of passing through walls, sometimes successfully, sometimes failing. When I failed, the feeling of being painfully hit by the wall was very real, and I would tell myself, "Face the wall, don't be afraid or hesitant, don't exert force, just walk through it calmly." When I was about to come out of the wall, there was a moment of numb pain in my heels, which disappeared immediately after I came out. Outside the wall, I saw 2 more people. One of them took out something and shone it on the wall. At that moment, I guessed that it was probably due to this device that the wall had become semi-transparent. The people who passed through the wall and the person who shone the device at the wall were able to change between liquid and solid forms at will. Their bodies constantly trembled slightly. These people appeared to have a floating, unreal feeling. I suspected at the time that these floating figures weren't real people, possibly robots, and this was later confirmed. When I passed through the wall, even though it was night, there seemed to be a light source in the area. The other person I saw seemed to be a real person, who at first glance appeared to be a woman, very much like a little girl from our kindergarten. When I approached her, she seemed frightened and instinctively took a few steps back, keeping a certain distance from me. Her face had a very captivating expression, and she was about 1 meter tall, with a slender yet voluptuous figure. Her eyes were large, with big eyelids, a full and shiny forehead, a small head, short and faint eyebrows concentrated in the center, and a particularly high arch, giving her an exotic beauty. Her chin, nose, and mouth were all small, with the upper lip slightly upturned, forming an M shape. Her face was relatively short, giving the impression of an 11 or 12-year-old girl, with not much contouring of her facial features, as if a face had been drawn on a balloon. Her waist was extremely thin, almost disproportionate to the rest of her body, roughly the thickness of my arm. Her upper body and shoulders were narrow, while her lower body and hips were relatively wide and full. There was a gap of about 8 to 9 centimeters between her legs, unlike the stance of Earth women, whose legs are usually close together. From behind, her hips appeared wide. From the front, her lower body had a full, bulging area, though I couldn't tell what it was. Her hair was black with some bluish-purple streaks, like shiny black rubber tubes with ring-like patterns, coiled into spiral shapes and expanding outward. Her skin was extremely delicate and smooth, with a pinkish-white color and a slight bluish-purple hue, possibly due to the light's reflection, as this bluish-purple color was not visible in other settings later on. This pinkish-white color was extremely fine and soft, diffuse rather than mirror-like. Overall, she made a very pretty, sexy impression, with her legs, arms, and body giving a very rounded feeling, like the inflatable rubber dolls we have nowadays. Her body structure was compact, giving the impression of being athletic. Who were these mysterious people? Why did they come to find me in the middle of the night? Fear and doubt filled my mind. Suddenly, I saw a strange, snow-white, intense light sweeping across the ground from above, as if a thick layer of silver powder was being spread over the ground. This intense light seemed dense and high in density, and as it was projected, it extended forward section by section, and retracted the same way. The objects and ground illuminated by this light were clearly visible, but there was no scattering of light around, and areas not illuminated were completely dark. This was distinctly different from the intense light we're used to seeing, which has scattered light. For instance, with the beam of light from a flashlight, the objects within the light beam are clearly visible, and those outside the beam can still be faintly seen, with a bright beam visible in the air. But with this dense light, there was no bright beam visible in the air. When the light swept over tree branches, they became clearly visible. This situation was similar to what some UFO witnesses described, a light often referred to as cold light by UFO observers. Later, I learned that this cold light was accompanied by a low-power artificial field scan, which could manipulate space, causing the light in space to bend and advance section by section. Their low-power artificial field scan could cause the dust in the air to be in an excited state and not interact with the light. Therefore, this light didn't form a bright beam in the air. However, the low-power artificial field scan could not excite the ground and tree branches, so these could still reflect light normally. I followed the light that was illuminating the branches upward and saw a huge object shaped like 2 conjoined straw hats, silently and ominously floating in the air. It was estimated to be tens of meters above the ground, and not far from my home. The bottom wasn't visible, but the circular outline was clearly seen. The intense light came from the bottom of this huge object, and there was a row of what appeared to be small lights around the edge, flashing in different colors. A UFO! I exclaimed in my heart. Having read magazines like UFO Explorer, this object was exactly like the typical UFO described in the magazines. Ah! My heart skipped a beat, and I immediately realized that these mysterious beings might be aliens. What should I do? Run, call for help, or shout for assistance? Before I could think further, I felt my body becoming lighter, but within less than a second, everything returned to normal. In a daze, I opened my eyes and found that I was no longer outside my home. The surroundings had suddenly changed. I found myself standing in an exquisitely crafted circular room, seemingly made entirely of metal, with no visible seams or joints. The room was softly lit, but I couldn't see any light bulbs. The light appeared to be emanating uniformly from the walls. The interior of the room glistened with a metallic sheen, and everything was meticulously designed with minimal furnishings, just the bare essentials. This room, or rather, the interior of a spaceship, had no windows or doors. In the center, there was a large pillar, connected to the ceiling, about 3 meters in diameter and 5 to 6 meters high. At the base of the pillar was a raised platform, around 40 centimeters wide and high. Surrounding the pillar was a circular space where the beings were situated, with the diameter of the circular chamber stretching several meters. Although my memory is somewhat vague, I had the feeling that we were all brought into the spaceship from its central bottom area, as if drawn in by some force. Near the curved metallic walls, a 3D holographic image hovered about 70 to 80 centimeters off the ground, constantly changing, like a 3D movie, and the images were incredibly realistic. If it weren't for the neatly trimmed edges of the screen, you'd think the scenes were real. There were no visible instruments or controls like those on Earth's spaceships or airplanes. Unlike the accounts of others who claim to have entered alien spacecraft, describing numerous instruments, what I saw was clearly different, and I remember this scene vividly. Later, I learned that all their instruments were displayed through this 3D hologram, and the spaceship was controlled via this holographic interface. I saw 4 emotionless beings, whose bodies seemed to be made up of countless tiny worms, subtly vibrating. I assumed they were robots. 2 of them approached me and immediately removed my shirt and underwear. From then on, I was naked on their planet until I returned home. When I looked down, I noticed a slowly drifting white mist around my waist, which made me feel slightly less embarrassed. I instinctively touched my lower body and clearly felt that I was naked. I speculated that these mysterious beings were indeed aliens, and that this circular room was the inside of the UFO I had seen hovering near my house. Although the UFO appeared small from the outside, it seemed much larger inside. I realized that they had either invited or abducted me and feared that I might never return home. My fears were soon confirmed when 3 genuine aliens emerged from inside, 2 males and 1 female, the latter looking exactly like the woman I had seen outside my home. At the sight of the woman, I instinctively glanced down at myself again, embarrassed by my nakedness, but the floating white mist around my waist offered some comfort. The light inside the ship was bright, allowing me to see her more clearly. She wore a form-fitting bodysuit that seemed to merge with her skin. Her figure was extremely sleek, like that of a dolphin. The 3 beings were of similar height, wearing the same bodysuits. One of the males, who shared similar features with the female, large eyes, small mouth, small nose, and a pointed chin, stepped forward. His features were distinctively alien, with large, thin, pointed ears, almost invisible eyebrows, and smooth, delicate, pinkish-white skin. His hair was tightly slicked back, resembling a piece of shiny black rubber. The 3 stood in a row, and the male who had similar features to the female placed his right hand on his chest and said something. Although I couldn't understand their language, a standard male voice immediately appeared in my ears. "My name is Norton. I'm a biologist, responsible for this journey. We are land people, or land-based people. Welcome to Guoke planet." I often heard them refer to their planet as Guoke, although the pronunciation varied slightly, sometimes sounding like Guoke or Guoke. When I asked where their planet was located in the universe, they refused to tell me. I thought to myself that they had forcibly brought me aboard their spaceship. It wasn't my idea to visit their planet. However, I didn't say this out loud, only responding instinctively with them. After the biologist finished speaking, he stepped back, and the other male, who had a more playful demeanor, approached me and placed his right hand on his chest, saying something. Again, a standard male voice translated, "My name is Sudal, and I am a physicist. Welcome to our planet." Finally, the female stepped forward, placing her right hand on her chest, and said something that was translated into a sweet, gentle female voice, "My name is Wheelie. Welcome to our planet." Her voice was gentle and childlike but unmistakably feminine. In later interactions, I noticed that the females among them had very similar voices, making it difficult to distinguish between them, while the males had slightly more variation in their voices. I realized that this was their welcoming ceremony and thought that they must be a civilized race in the universe and wouldn't harm or dissect me, which eased my tension somewhat. The biologist Norton then gestured beside him, and a 3D holographic image appeared. He tapped a few times on the image and continued speaking. Although I couldn't understand him, a standard voice translated, "You have been an object of our long-term observation. When you were a child, you were taken aboard our spaceship multiple times. Your name is Zhang Chen, right? According to your customs, people around you should call you Brother Chen, correct?" "Yes, some people have called me that, but most people just call me Chen," I thought to myself. How could they possibly know my name? At that moment, I suddenly wondered, did they learn my name through my teachers? Chen? We'll continue to call you Brother Chen. We've brought you to our planet to conduct 2 very important experiments through you, and we hope to obtain data that will be valuable to us. What kind of experiments? I asked curiously. We want to study your brain and hope to find the information we need, Norton replied. Ah. Are you going to cut open my brain? I blurted out in panic. Ha ha ha, the physicist Sudal immediately laughed, his laughter accompanied by a shaking upper body, and I heard a voice in my ear, "You foolish earthlings like to do such things." Seeing his laughter, I thought to myself, isn't this behavior just like that of humans on Earth? Could they be short people from somewhere on Earth, dressed up in special costumes or tight rubber suits to deceive me, intending to take me to some place on Earth for their undisclosed purposes? But what could I have that would interest them? But then, I thought of Wheelie's slender waist. No human on Earth has such a waist. And where on Earth could you find such a 3D holographic image? My feelings of fear and confusion resurfaced. Ah, don't worry, Norton reassured me. We will use our artificial field scanning technology to study your brain. This field can emit an invisible substance from the universe that can penetrate your brain without causing any harm. Out of all the people on Earth, is my brain special? Why did you choose me? I wondered, not saying it aloud, but Norton seemed to read my thoughts. When you were a child, herding geese in the fields, you encountered a race with a highly advanced civilization far beyond ours. If we use time to measure civilization levels, we are at a 10,000-year level, while Earth is only at a 1,000-year level. These advanced beings operate at a million-year or even billion-year level, with technology and understanding far beyond our imagination. They might have implanted one of their consciousnesses into your brain, giving you some of their memories. We want to scan and record these memories. We are eager to learn how they view the universe. Although this is only our hope, we may find nothing at all. Still, I hope we can find what we're looking for. I immediately recalled an experience from when I was 7 or 8 years old, herding geese alone on a sandy patch of land. What do I need to do? I asked Norton. We will use artificial field scanning technology to remotely and non-invasively scan your brain. All you need to do is follow our instructions and cooperate with our experiments. There's nothing more you need to do, Norton replied. We will also allow you to explore many places on our planet. You will have many wonderful experiences, gain knowledge and insights not available on your planet, and enrich your life. When you return to Earth, these experiences will change your fate. You will become a famous and wealthy person on your planet. You will become a key figure in changing your planet's destiny, and in the future, many will admire you. Even until the people on your planet disappear from the universe, countless people will remember your name. Because on Earth, you will be the first to understand the secret of time. In the universe, there are many highly advanced civilizations on different planets. On any of these planets, the first person to understand the true nature of time is considered the true king among all scientists and is worshipped like a god. This reverence lasts until the day their civilization vanishes from their planet, and they are never forgotten. Why is this so? Because the nature of time is the most fundamental secret of the universe. Deciphering the nature of time is of unparalleled importance. It can trigger dramatic changes across an entire planet, far beyond any other scientific discovery. We will soon reveal the nature of time to you. Although you will learn this secret from us rather than through your own independent thinking, it will not prevent you from becoming the first person on Earth to truly understand the secret of time. The people of Earth may not care how you acquired this knowledge, and in the future, you might be regarded as a divine figure on your planet, even if it was just by chance. The biologist says that I will become highly advanced in the future, but I am not the least bit happy about it, because my dream has always been to marry a beautiful, gentle, petite wife and build a big house with a large yard in my hometown. As for the secrets of the universe and time, the fate of the nation or the people of Earth has nothing to do with me, and I have never thought about such things. When I heard that my brain would be scanned, I got nervous again. They seemed to immediately guess my concern. There will be no problems, our technology is absolutely safe. Sudair approached me with a somewhat mysterious expression, and a thought immediately appeared in my mind. During your short visit to our planet, we will also arrange for you to have a beautiful girlfriend. The physicist glanced at Whaley as he spoke, and Whaley raised her head, showing an expression that seemed to be one of arrogance and disdain. We invited you here to conduct another experiment, Norton continued. We require you to engage in various sexual experiments with different females from our planet, while simultaneously recording your brain's consciousness, various sensations, and the movements and physiological information of other parts of your body. We will translate this information into data, which is very important to us and a valuable resource. Once sexual activity is converted into data, it can be used as a commodity for exchange, although you Earthlings might not understand this. When you were young, we brought you aboard our spaceship multiple times, but we didn't arrange for you to come to our planet because at that time, your body hadn't fully matured, and your sexual consciousness hadn't formed. Now, at your current age, you are in your most physically and sexually robust stage. Our planet is actually not just one, strictly speaking, it's a star system. Many planets surround our main planet, similar to the solar system where Earth is located, with many planets and moons. Sudair interjected, on the dozens of planets near our main planet, our people live. Different planets have many different types of females, with a wide variety of body shapes, some of which you could never imagine. You will meet them later. Of course, we will try to select females whose body types are closer to those of Earth women for you to engage in sexual relations with. If the differences in body shape are too great, I guess you wouldn't feel any sexual desire towards them. For example, on Earth, a man might feel a bit of sexual desire towards a pig or a cow because their bodies somewhat resemble those of human women and have similar sexual organs. But if you were facing a shrimp or an insect, it wouldn't arouse any sexual desire in you. Sudair's words made me worried. Are they going to force me to have sexual relations with animals like pigs or cows? Having relations with a beautiful girl like Whaley would be great. These people might be perverts and won't easily fulfill my wishes. At this moment, the two slightly trembling figures, who were probably robots, walked up to me. One held a holographic image of my house, and the other held a holographic image of a bottle with a human corpse soaked in a liquid inside it. One of the robots said to me, "From now until the end, you must behave well, stay quiet, and follow our arrangements completely. After it's over, we will return you home unharmed." After saying this, the robot brought the 3D image of my house closer for me to see. The other robot then said, "If you don't behave, resist, or disobey our arrangements, and act on your own, you will end up like this." The robot then showed me the 3D image of the human body in the bottle, which made me feel horrified and scared. My heart started racing, and my previous good impression of them instantly collapsed. They might be evil, and this time, I might be in real danger. I felt extremely uneasy and terrified for a while, but then I tried to comfort myself. They brought me here to conduct 2 experiments, not to harm me. They won't touch my body, just scan my brain. I shouldn't be too worried, right? They want data from sexual activities, which means they want me to have sex with different types of women from their planet. It's not like I'll be tortured to death, right? Besides, I don't have a girlfriend right now, and I've never had any sexual experience, so I'm quite sexually frustrated. Where's your planet in the universe? Is it in the Milky Way? How far is it from Earth? According to our custom, we won't answer that question. How long will I stay on your planet? According to Earth time, about a month. For that long, my family will be very worried. They won't be. Our time flows differently from yours. The time you spend visiting our planet, plus the time traveling back and forth on the spaceship, won't exceed a single night on Earth. We'll have you back before sunrise, and no one will discover that you traveled to our planet, not even your family. I was skeptical of Norton's words. Are you really capable of that? Can you make time go backward? We cannot make time go backward. Time reversal seems to be achievable by changing the speed at which time flows. However, the speed at which time flows is a relative concept. In the universe, the flow of time may vary on different planets and in different places. The only meaningful way to discuss the speed of time's passage is by comparing different locations. Talking about the speed of time in the same place is meaningless. For example, the size of an object only has meaning when compared to other objects. The concept of size for a single object is meaningless. By using artificial field scanning technology, we can irradiate a certain space and fill the local space with an energy field, which can change the speed of time's flow. This technology can make time in one place flow slower than in another place. Conversely, we can also make time flow faster in one place compared to another. We refer to this concept as the time gradient on our planet. In the same location, there is no concept of the speed of time's flow. Time reversal is impossible because it requires events to occur in the same space and at the same point. As I said before, there is no meaning in comparing the speed of time's flow at the same location. Norton patiently explained, but my mind felt numb, and I couldn't understand. We can now achieve some local time reversal phenomena in specific space regions, but only to rapidly reverse an event to its previous state and then restart it. We cannot achieve complete, pure, or gradual time reversal. The physicist Sudayer's additional explanation confused me even more. Do you have any other questions? Norton asked, staring into my eyes. A thought appeared in my ear. We are now driving the spaceship back. Norton made a gesture in the air, and suddenly, a white, delicate, cubic mist appeared. The mist then turned into a 3-dimensional image, showing some text I didn't recognize. Norton began to operate the image with his finger. A clear, sweet female voice kept talking in my ear, and my body suddenly felt light. I guessed that I might already be flying towards their planet.